Let's say you have someone who just committed homicide. He killed someone in his own house. He can't say it was a burglary that went wrong because nothing is missing in his home. And he has relatives coming to visit him within a half hour, so what does he do? He drags the corpse and throws it in a wardrobe. And he closes the wardrobe. So for the next days, there is a corpse. It is a corpse that's rotting in that wardrobe. So eventually, there's a weird smell in the house. But he purchases a lot of perfume and a lot of air refreshers and places it inside the house. And he hides them because he doesn't want others to notice that there are a lot of perfumes and air refreshers in the house. Because then people don't ask why you need all this air refreshing. You're showering every day, right? The house looks clean. Meaning you clean the house, you wash yourself, why so many air refreshers? So he hides them. Still, people that enter the house sense that the beautiful smell is too beautiful. Because every house has a natural smell. Because you're farting in the house, you're going to the toilet, you cook, so you must sense a smell of food also. You also sweat, so every house needs to have a natural odor, because you're active in that place. But this guy's house, let's call him Bart, every time you arrive at Bart's house, it is as if you're entering a valley with lilies, or a valley with roses. It smells so good. One guy that entered that house, who was a co-worker of his, sensed immediately that something was wrong. Because it was in the middle of a hot summer day. Most people were sweating. So you should expect a sweaty odor in the house, because the house is on the inside, so it must be warmer on the inside. But it smelled as if you entered some Japanese spa. So if it smelled so fresh, and the guy knew instantly something's wrong with this place. Now, eventually, people figured out that something was completely wrong with that place. So people began to talk about it. And then, they noticed that that guy often spent his time away from home. And then people began to ask, well, I mean, if you spend your time away from home so often, how come your house is clean all the time? How come? So people began to ask questions. And eventually, they heard about this gardener that went missing. And when the police investigated the missing persons case, they found out that this gardener lent money to this Bart. And this Bart was willing to pay it back all at once. And the gardener was about to sue him for fraud. So it's then that the police began to ask questions in the neighborhood about this Bart, and a lot of people said, well, his house always smells so good. One of the officers thought, well, maybe his house does smell good because he may be a very clean person, but the chief investigator realized, wait a minute, this doesn't end up in house smells so good all the time. So they asked for a warrant, and the judge granted them the warrant. They went into the place, and there was this one room where the smell was so intense. And then the officers that were doing the house search realized it's not natural. And they found out that there were many, many air refreshers hidden in the place. They went to the trash can and it was filled with empty air refreshers. So when they came to the room where the perfume was so strong, they checked the wardrobes, and behold, when they opened that wardrobe, the stench overwhelmed them. Some of them even fainted there. They found the corpse. Worms were eating at it. There was poo all over the place because the body released all its fluids. It was, of course, it was blood also everywhere, so it was a horrible scene. They found the skeleton in the closet, or better said, skeleton in the wardrobe. Now, why did I give you this story? Think about this as follows. It's a parable, you know that. When you have something to hide, because you know that if this comes out, it's going to have disastrous consequences on your behalf, or on the behalf of someone you're comforting, what do? You make sure others are distracted from noticing the thing that you're hiding. How do you do that? You put their attention somewhere else. And by putting their attention somewhere else, people focus on that thing that you are distracting them with. Meanwhile, that they are distracted, you make sure that there is some cover for the thing you're hiding. By doing this, people are led astray so they won't notice what you're hiding. It can be that you have a wife, for example, that keeps complaining about the kids. She always picks one of her sons and pretends that he is his very bad kid. The husband doesn't realize that her wife is acting out of line. He sincerely thinks that his wife feels concerned about their son. But there are red flags that the husband doesn't want to see. The son that scapegoated notices it immediately. Some people in the environment also notice that, hold on a minute, why is this woman so angry at this kid all the time? The kid just arrived at home, he went to his room, he didn't say hi because he was tired, and she already is pretending as if he robbed the place. Some of the relatives thought her behavior is out of line. But then, one day, this was a friend of that son, a friend from high school, told him that he saw his mother with some guy at some pub in town. Now that friend of that son told that son because that friend figured out already why that guy's mother was out of line like that. That guy, he was only 40 years old, understood it perfectly. That guy understood that the mother was having an affair, but the mother didn't want to divorce her husband, but she didn't want to stop the affair either. And she did not want others to find out she had an affair, because it would bring shame on her, it would discredit her credibility, it may even have consequences for her on her job, and if she ever wanted to divorce her husband, she would be in the disadvantage, because the court of law would tell her, you're the one that cheated, so she's going to lose. So she wanted to distract people with something else. That's why she dumped all that rage on her son, because it caused her son to question himself. It caused her son to have psychological issues. And that's what she wanted, so that people would think her son was crazy, so people would pay attention to her son, so people wouldn't see what she was hiding. Now there were people eventually figured out what was going on, but the husband in this case did not want to admit what was going on. He was in strong denial. And because he was in strong denial, he eventually turned on his son too. Because he had tension of this denial, because he didn't want to face what was going on. But he didn't want to face it. But he still had this negative tension. So he dumped it on his kid. So eventually, he began to physically assault his son. At this moment, the son called in the authorities, and authorities arrested the man. And the son even moved out of the house in some student dorm, even though he wasn't a college student yet, due to his situation allowed him to stay there, so that he was not, so that his safety was guaranteed. In this case, yet one coward, the wife, who didn't want to face her own infidelity and her own deep-rooted emotional issues. She blamed her husband for the fact she was cheating, and she took out the rage on her son. The husband, at the other hand, didn't want to face what was going on, so he dumped it on his son, who was already a target, because people already thought the son may have psychological issues, even though the son was just overwhelmed by what's happened, and is overwhelmed that he was a mental issue indeed, but it was that the son was crazy. It wasn't that he was schizophrenic or anything like that, but because people thought the son wasn't right in the head, the father took advantage of it so that he wouldn't have to face things. So you have two cowards here. And then you had people around who saw what was happening and they didn't intervene because they didn't want their hands to get dirty. So they allowed the filth to manifest. Those were other cowards. In this case, not only the wife, also the husband has something to hide, and also the enablers have something to hide. Because the moment this comes out that this kid was the target of narcissistic violence and that the community enabled it to happen, well, people are going to look very weird at the community. Their credibility will be gone and it will have far more consequences for them. So now they also need to hide this skeleton. And this skeleton is the narcissistic violence on that young man. So they have to make sure that there are always rumors about this young man who's not right in the head, that is exploiting his parents. They have to make all kinds of lies about him. And they have to keep repeating the lies so people believe the lies. Why? Because the moment people look deeper into the case, they'll figure out that all those rumors about the guy contradict themselves and then find out the bitter facts. Now, this was another parable, but just understand what I'm saying here. Anytime anyone has something to hide, and the reason they have something to hide is because the thing they're hiding is something that can't be justified, it can't be accounted for. Anytime that's going on, that individual will distract others with something external. Sometimes it's obvious that someone is distracting others. Other times it isn't. And there are times people will use you as a distraction. Now, in this case, you're being taken advantage of. Did you allow it to happen? No. Because you weren't aware it was happening. But there are times some folks will take advantage of you by using you as a distraction. It can be that you have this quote-unquote friend or quote-unquote let me say someone from church or a colleague or quote-unquote relative that keeps hanging around you and they talk about their issues and all of that, so you think that you're cool with them and they really are just good with you on friendly terms. But here's the thing, they keep spending time with you. Why? Because there are things we don't want to face. Maybe you have a niece who has an abusive husband and she spends time with you often to avoid that husband because she doesn't want to face that he is out of line. But when the husband becomes upset, in order to divert his rage, she blames it on you, saying you're calling her all the time and that you are bothering her. She's lying on you to save the approval from her narcissistic husband. So now you'll have that narcissistic husband coming after you, saying that you're disrupting his marriage, even though you didn't do anything wrong. What happens? The codependent framed you for danger by using you as a distraction. That's why I'm telling you, you should always look at the bigger picture. Don't think that just because you are a believer and you're walking by faith that you are immune to such attacks. Because a codependent using you as a distraction is an assault. It's an assault on your mental health because they are putting you in psychological danger. It's also an assault on your physical health because when others decide to take out the rage on you, you're physically in danger. And above all, they're scamming you. That's what they're doing. They're scamming you. So, again, I'm not telling you to be suspicious of everyone, nor to be paranoid. Just look at the bigger picture. Examine the circumstances. And when you notice that someone is scamming you, don't confront them because that may escalate. Don't deny it. Just take proper actions in line with Christ. You walk in love towards them. You remain unfriendly. You remain friendly towards them, but you remove yourself slowly from that individual, and eventually you make sure you lose contact with that individual. Okay? Shake the dust off your feet. Move on in Christ. Agree with Him.